You're locked in to the hottest station on the planet.
Resistance is futile. The revolution has begun.
You're listening to Rebelpreneur Radio, helping you break the rules and build the business you need for the life you want. And now, broadcasting his pirate signal
from somewhere beyond the status quo,
here's your host, best-selling author, marketing and media strategist, Ralph Brogden.
Hello and welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio. It's the show that helps you build the business you need so you can live the life you want. I'm Ralph Brogden. Well, taking that leap and getting into the business that is perfect for you, the kind of business that you can run on your own, the kind of business that will support the life that you want, even though it's out there and it's available and the opportunity is right in front of you, there are still obstacles that we have to overcome. A lot of those obstacles are in our mind, in our mindset, in our attitude, in our beliefs about what is possible. And the great thing is, a lot of the things that we believe to be true about ourselves, it's not true at all. At least the negative stuff is not true. You can do far more than you believe that you can do, but you have to put yourself out there and see that for yourself and basically persuade yourself that you can do this and you will do this. One of the people who exemplifies this is on today's show with me. I'm speaking with Katrina Peterson. She is a serial entrepreneur on a mission to save a Crooked Steeple Hall, an 1850s church building. She believes in taking crazy chances and finding others who share your passion to help build your business. Her favorite quote is a Japanese proverb, fall 7 times, stand up 8. What a great thing to keep in our mind as we consider how do we take that leap. Katrina Peterson, welcome to Rebelpreneur Radio.
Thank you so much, Ralph. It is awesome to be here. We did get to talk a little bit before, but I'm really excited. I love everything that you're doing, and the guests you have on are just excellent. So I'm happy to be here.
The awesome is mine, my privilege, my awesome to have you, Katrina. You are a serial entrepreneur, and we're not meaning that you are into cornflakes, right? By cereal, we're talking. That was supposed to be a joke. You're supposed to laugh when I make little jokes like that.
No, it's absolutely. Well, I was thinking about the cornflakes. I kind of do like cornflakes, but that's not what we're talking about.
So, as a serial entrepreneur, you have started and run many businesses. Tell us a little bit about how you got started doing what you're doing now with Crooked Steeple Hall. What's your story?
All right. Well, I did co-own a property management company with my ex-husband. At the time, we were married. He was my husband. And I lived in a little town called Winterport. And I was driving down Main Street one day. I had already had in my head that I thought, well, we're already working on other people's properties. Wouldn't it be nice to buy some properties of our own and start renting them as rental income investments? And I saw a building. It was a church building, but it did have a sign out front that said, for sale by owner. And at the time, we didn't have a lot of...
Who was the owner? God?
Yeah. No, it actually had been owned privately for, at that point, almost 20 years. So it hadn't been a church for a while. It had been, first it was privately owned by someone who I'm told used it basically as a man cave. He had a pool table up where the pulpit used to be, and he built an apartment into what used to be the church kitchen.
Interesting.
And then after that, it became a music store and a music hall, and they had a music store in the ground level basement space and a hall upstairs where the pews from the church were still attached and still in there. So they would do plays, they would host concerts, that sort of thing. And then at some point it just fell into disuse and they shut the music store down. And at some point later on decided it was time to sell the building.
Interesting. So you saw this as an opportunity to do something you've been wanting to do for a while.
I did. And, most people don't think to themselves, gee, buying a church, big on my bucket list, It's not I wasn't setting out to buy some very unique building. I just saw that there was an apartment and it was for sale by owner. And quite honestly, because we didn't have a lot of cash to plunk down at the time, I thought to myself, well, maybe they'll do owner financing. This is something I've read about. People do this, although it's not common. It is something that happens. And I reached out to the owners and they actually were willing to do that. And that just got me started. And, I typed up a loan document. I did the whole amortization schedule and we met and we signed and voila.
Voila. And the rest is history. Now, I know the answer to this because I've been on your website, but for our listeners who haven't met you and haven't visited your website yet, what are you doing with the church building?
Well, what I am doing is renovating it. Of course, it's a church building. So it's a large structure where people can gather, and that's how it exists today. At the time I bought the building, the roof was leaking. The apartment was in pretty rough shape, and I renovated the apartment first. I do rent that out short term to people. A lot of people that want to come see Acadia National Park, which is just a beautiful place. Check out Maine. I actually get a lot of remote workers now, people that stay for like a month and they can work and they can also vacation. The rest of the building, however, is still what used to be the church space and where the choir would practice. And I'm renovating that to be an event hall and a wedding center.
Very exciting. So you've taken this and you have, I guess, gone beyond your comfort zone and taking the leap, but now you're beginning to see the fruit of your labor. That's got to be very exciting.
It is very exciting. And I think the most exciting thing is truly embracing, when we started the podcast, you were talking about sort of the inner work and the rejection and all those themes. I think that's the most exciting thing at this point is in the beginning, I did a lot of the work myself. I did everything myself. I did have help from the community from time to time, but I was also very inward focused. Hard for me to reach out and get that help. I still had, and I always will, everybody has work to do all the time. But I still had those feelings of like, I needed to do this on my own and I needed to make it work and I could work hard enough and it's going to come. And the most exciting thing I think that's really taken me to the next level is finding others that do things that I am either not good at or I don't enjoy doing or that I really have no expertise in at all or no time to do. And that's, I think, the most exciting thing is that sort of breakthrough and finding, and I now have a team of 5 people that work with me in different capacities that are so incredible, and trusting them is the biggest thing. Trusting them and trusting myself that it's okay and that I can let these people into my world and that my way or my sort of urge for perfectionism, if you will, doesn't need to be, and that other people are certainly capable and competent and willing and there to be my partners.
I love that. And I think that really, there's a lot of things there to unpack in what you are revealing to us. First is the inner game, the way you think about yourself, the way you push forward, your self-talk, confidence. And then there is expanding outward from the inner game to the outer game, which is building the relationships, building the team so that you can scale. And what you've done is tapped into what Warren Buffett talks about with the zone of competency, meaning that if we really want to be productive, profitable, happy with our business and our life, we can't do everything, and nobody is good at everything anyway. So we focus on the things, the 2 or 3 or 4 things that we're really, really good at. And then we find other people who are really, really good at the things we don't want to do or the things that we don't know how to do. And we let them do what they're best at. And that's where we get the team acronym. Together, everyone achieves more. And it sounds kind of elementary, but in your case, it really makes a lot of sense.
absolutely. Well, I'm just me, and there's only one me, and I certainly can rip up floorboards and paint walls, and I can also do blog posts, and I can also do accounting, and I'm certainly capable, as many of, all of us are capable of all of these fantastic things. But when there's only one of you, there's only so many hours in the day, and unfortunately you can't make more. And of course, you also want to try to have a life of sorts. I have children, I have a partner, and I would love to spend time enjoying with them. Time outside of my building.
Sure.
Or off of the computer. And in order to do that, I really needed to engage other people. And I'll tell you like a really short microcosm of this. So even though I had met these other fantastic women that were helping me, I have a designer who's really great with branding and marketing, and I have a business manager who's good with contracts and making sure my website is tight, and I have a travel concierge who works with me to do travel planning, and I have an events manager who does bookings. I was still putting myself in the middle of all of those people. And really just 2 or 3 months ago, I had this epiphany. I was doing something with my designer and talking to the event coordinator because she was coordinating something, and I'm designing the flyer. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? Why?
Can you move that 5 pixels to the left?
Oh, yes, I was doing that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there. I understand. I'm resonating with what you're talking about. We've all been there. Micromanaging the team that we're supposed to be working for us.
This designer I have, she is in New York City. She works on some fantastic retail brands, like high-end luxury brands. She knows what she is doing. And I said to myself, what am I doing? So I told her, from now on, give me 2 general concepts. I'll pick one and you run with it. Don't ask me to like what thing needs to go in what corner. I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. Not only that, but how about instead of me getting in the middle, you just talk to Alicia, our events coordinator, directly.
There you go.
And you guys figure it out. And then not only that, you also, if it's something that needs to be printed, talk to the printer. Here's the printer I use. You talk to them. Or you don't even have to use this printer. Find somebody to print it. Ask me how many I want and go. And I actually did this huge introduction because prior to that, I was sort of the spoke, or the hub, in the wheel. They were all kind of out on a spoke, and everything was going through me. So I did this huge introduction, and I introduced everybody to everybody else. I copied everyone. I said, here's everybody. Here's how we all fit together. We're all working on this. And here's how I see you all interacting together. Which was huge. It was huge, I'm telling you, because prior to that, I sort of felt like I had to have my hand in things. And then just to sort of, it's like almost like somebody slapped me in the face, what are you doing? All these people are incredibly competent. They have great expertise far beyond, I'm certainly not a designer, and I am not an events manager. So why am I trying to get in the middle of what they do best? And that epiphany of just really, it's been coming, and I've been working through it, of course, otherwise I wouldn't have these people. However, recognizing that if you run a business and you want to get to the next step of that business, you can't do it all, really requires you to trust the people that you work with and let them do what they do best.
That is so true. And I think this really speaks to our listeners on a couple of different levels. If you're trying to start your business or you're in a startup mode, always be thinking ahead to that point where you're going to want to be able to grow the business, but not grow how many hours a week you're spending in the business. Otherwise, you're building a golden cage for yourself. You are becoming a prisoner of your own business because, like Katrina was saying, you are the hub that all the spokes of the wheel have to go through. And if you get sick or you get hit by a bus and go into a coma, the business ceases to function because you designed it that way. So what we're saying is design your business to run without you so that you can scale that and you can duplicate yourself across many different layers of competent people on your team, but it requires you to think strategically. And what does that mean? To think about every aspect of your business. Make a list of all the things that have to happen in your business. then make a list of all the things you're currently doing and compare those two lists. And what, in my experience, a lot of people, when they get overwhelmed, they've got too much to do, that their business isn't growing. It's because they've got all of these things that need to be done. They can't do them, and so they don't get done. And so nothing ever changes. And that's not building the business you need to create the life that you want. So what you're talking about, Katrina, is universal. It's applicable to every business owner out there, that we stop trying to do everything ourselves, stop micromanaging. Yeah, move that illustration on the website 5 pixels to the left, that sort of thing. We need to take a big step back. And I think your biggest role as the business owner at this stage is to be the integrator of relationships, introducing one person to the other and then letting them do whatever it is that they do so that you can do what you do best.
Absolutely. I think it's so key. Now, that's another thing there's another thing I'm extremely, I would say, passionate about, and that is building the systems that allow people to do that. Mm-hmm. And they can be small. Google Drive is a great tool. So getting into some nitty gritty, how-tos, but really putting things in a centralized location that these people that you work with can also access. Also giving them, as much as you want to let them do what they do best, you do need to define what it is you want them to do.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn that's a balance. There's a balance between just giving such a broad picture that they're confused and they don't really have direction, and, move the thing 5 pixels to the left. So you do have to strike a balance. You also have to figure out with each person how they best work together. And sometimes it's going to take a little back and forth to clarify what you exactly want them to do and how you see them fitting in. And also, there's going to be starts and fits, and there might be somebody that it seems like it's going to go really well, and maybe it doesn't work out the way you thought. And either you try again and you keep going and get it till it's in a good place, or maybe, you just move on and you meet the next person that might fill that role. And that's sort of going back to the fall 7 times, stand up 8, is that it's not like you're going to find one person or a couple people and they're going to be perfect for the rest of your business life together. It's that, you're constantly always meeting new people and always seeing if there's a fit for somebody. You should have some stability, right? But it's not just a one and done and check that off the list and you'll never have to do it again sort of thing.
Yeah. I think a good way to illustrate what you're talking about is a sports team. Hopefully, if you have a great team, you're lucky if you have 1 or 2 superstars on that team. But no matter how great that superstar is, you still need players in every position, and players come and go, and you're always scouting. You're always looking for new opportunities, new people. And what you said is so true. It's not just you put someone in a position and you forget about them, but they grow, your business grows, and sometimes people grow into and with the business. Sometimes they grow out of the business, same as on a team. And so they trade players, or they recruit new players from training
Absolutely.
Farms. So it's not a static thing, but it's a living organism that's growing and changing. And once more, this really underscores why, as the business owner, you don't have time to really micromanage every single thing, because you're more like the coach standing on the sideline looking at the overall team performance and saying, where can we better or best use this particular talent for this particular situation? And that requires some ongoing maintenance and feedback, and just really learning how to integrate all of these different people with all of their different skills and talents to achieve the goal that you lay out for them.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing to keep in mind is that as entrepreneurs, we can be extremely driven. We can be willing to work harder and do crazier things than a lot of the average people out there. And that, when I was saying we have to define, strike that balance between move 5 pixels and just such a broad picture, they don't know what to do, is that sometimes as entrepreneurs, we can think, well, geez, I would have, given this my all and done X, Y, Z and stayed up 20 hours. But that's not realistic for everybody that you're working with. So you do have to figure out as an entrepreneur, what's your style to relay enough information that they do what you need them to do or fill that role that you need them to fill without micromanaging. And I do think entrepreneurs tend to sort of have either they micromanage because they think they know how to do it best, or they think, well, this person clearly would do it exactly how I did it, which is, spend 24 hours in a 24-hour day until it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah. And then you've got a company full of mini-me's instead of people who are fulfilling their own potential and their own gift. And I remember Dan Kennedy used to say that not to think of your employees as owners, because if they were, they would be your competition. They wouldn't be working for you.
Absolutely. And I was reading recently, and I can't remember where it was, but that you tend to hire people that are like yourself. And rather than doing that, really you should seek to find people that fill those gaps, not only personally. So, I'm a mom, so maybe I hire other mothers, which actually is true when I look at the people that I've interacted with, but I do have some people who aren't. But to find people that maybe you personally wouldn't, sit next to and immediately be best friends with, but people that have different strengths that they bring to the table. And that's definitely something I think for an entrepreneur that is a challenge. Absolutely. But you can be conscious of it and really make an effort to come up with something different.
Yeah. Well, I really like the way our conversation has gone, because it really bridges the gap between the startup phase and the scaling phase. And that's where a lot of people fall apart. But I want to circle back around with the few minutes that we have left to get back to this inner game, because if you didn't take the leap, if you didn't push forward in spite of opposition, getting over the rejection and the difficulties and the obstacles, you would never be in a position to have a team, to scale your business, to begin to see the fruit of your labor. So what can we begin to do? What can our listeners start doing to really boost their confidence, to be confident, not to eliminate fear, but to acknowledge the fear and take the leap anyway? What can you share with them that might give them the motivation to really put themselves out there?
Well, I think that's so key. Everybody has fear, but you're doing it anyway despite the fear. That's a huge thing. And I know you had Jennifer Hooper, who actually is my coach, on recently, and she's a big proponent of that. But I did actually prepare a little list. So there are some things that I do, and one of those, and this is going to sound, I think it sounds a little hokey, but it's so helpful to me. And I definitely know that if I fall off and I don't do this on a near daily basis, it impacts my mindset. And mindset is so important, because when you feel good, when you feel confident, when you feel like you can handle it all, you're just going to approach everything differently. All the people you interact with, potential customers, potential investors, people you're talking to on a podcast, that it all ties together. So this thing that I do is I make a list of 10 positive things about myself at the start of the day. And it's key and crucial to do this, I would say, within the first half hour to hour of waking. I try to do it as one of the first things that I do, because it really helps me set a tone for the day. This is not a to-do list. This is simply, what are 10 things about me that I feel good about today, that really are putting me in a good place for my business and for my day. The other thing that I would really, really say is important is I love podcasts. And I actually made a list of some of them, because I think it's easy to get inside your own head. And, it's important to have a variety of sources that keep you pointed in the right direction. And one of my favorite podcasts is Mind Your Business by James Wedmore. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. But he is just so all about your inner game and your thought process. And I find that anytime I sort of drift in the other direction, I'll make sure I'm pulling up one of his podcasts and listening to it. I love Goal Digger by Jenna Kutcher. She is aimed more at creatives. However, she really does talk a lot about, again, that sort of inner work, inner game, confidence. And then there are a couple others. So this is a TED Talk that I really, really like, and I can watch this over and over and over again. It's Rejection Therapy. I don't know if you've ever seen this TED Talk, but there's this gentleman, and I'm going to get his name wrong, but I can email it to you later. But sure. He does this fantastic, he came up with this 100 Days of Rejection, where he's running his own business, and he knew that he was extremely afraid of rejection, and he was trying to get investments, and he asked for one investment, got turned down, and was like ready to quit. And he said, you know what? I know that I can create a product or I can run this business, but I really need to become a better leader. And he developed these 100 things that he did, and he went out. And so some of the things he did, like he asked a stranger for $100. He asked Krispy Kreme to make him donuts in the shape of the Olympic rings. He asked for a burger refill at Five Guys. So just he has to plant a flower in somebody's backyard, and really just some sort of off the wall stuff. But he forced himself into these situations, and he, by the way, video documented every single one of these encounters. And his TED Talk is just fantastic.
Yeah, if you do a Google search on Rejection Therapy TED Talk, you'll see it. Yep. It's the first result. It's I don't want to mispronounce his name. It looks like Jia Zhang.
Yes.
Or something close to that. Yeah. What I learned from 100 Days of Rejection, and that's on TED.com. Yeah, I love getting these podcasts and these TED Talks in my earbuds while I'm doing my exercise. So and this is where Michael Gerber talks about the difference between working in your business and working on your business. So when I'm here at the microphone or I'm at the computer writing something, I'm working in my business. But when I'm out exercising, I can plug into these motivational talks, and then I'm working on the business, standing outside of it, working on it as a business owner, which 99% of the time means working on myself, my mindset, my self-talk. So these are really, I wrote them down, and these are going to be things that I will look at and stick into my playlist.
Absolutely. And then there is one other one that isn't business focused. However, I find it to be a fantastic resource when you are in business of a conversation starter. And we all need good conversation starters that aren't about politics or religion,
yes,
right?
Agreed.
And it's Stuff You Should Know. I don't know if you're familiar with that one either. But it's a what they do is they deep dive on a topic, and it can be anything. One that I call out is they did a deep dive on Stradivarius violins. And they talked all about the history and why do they sound this way, and just they spend like an hour talking about whatever the topic may be. And it has been such a great conversation starter as I go to networking events and meeting new people, because I have this sort of breadth. I mean, we can all read the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or, watch TV for our news. But this is just kind of gives you a little leg up, I think, and it's in no way, it's not current news, but it's it gives you an interesting thing to discuss with people when you meet them.
Sure. And that's called Stuff You Should Know.
Stuff You Should Know.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Katrina, this has really been motivational just to listen to you and to, from what little I've learned about you in the time that we've spent together. I think you exemplify the Rebelpreneur spirit of taking the leap, moving forward, overcoming obstacles in yourself, stepping out of your comfort zone. I mean, that's something that, the phrase is used quite a bit, but do we ever really exemplify that? Do we ever really step outside of our comfort zone? Few people do. Most people stay inside the comfort zone. You have definitely taken the leap. You are practicing what you preach, and I really appreciate you being on the show today. Any final thoughts or words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with as we close?
I definitely would like to say, just keep going, because if you believe in it, you can make it happen. And I truly believe that if I stopped every time somebody went through my building and said, "Oh, this is a huge project," I would have like closed the doors long ago and just kept working and thanking.
Yeah.
But I really do believe that if you, and I'm sure there are business analysts and entrepreneur professors at schools that would want you to have cash flow projections and all sorts of fantastic stuff. And that's important. But what is really important, and if you look at anybody who has done great things in business or in life, they've been rejected repeatedly. They've been turned down. And the important thing is that they kept going. And that's why you should too.
Excellent. Excellent. Words of wisdom from Katrina Peterson. She is a serial entrepreneur on a mission to save a Crooked Steeple Hall, an 1850s church building. She believes in taking crazy chances and finding others who share your passion to help you build your business. If you'd like to find out more, go to crookedsteeplehall.com to connect with Katrina, and we will have that link on the Rebelpreneur website as well. Katrina, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Rebelpreneur Radio with Ralph Brogden. Download the show notes and much more at rebelpreneur.com.